Welcome in to another edition of Locked On 76ers, your Sixers beat writer Keith Pompey right there. I'm Marc Farzetta. Sixers do exactly what they should do, Keith, which is give their star a break in the fourth quarter. Maxey goes off very specifically in the final 4:46 of the third quarter. We'll also talk about the role players doing their thing as well as Golden State Warriors being right around the corner. All that and more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. And this particular episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Keith, I know it's the Wizards, but just for comparison, the Sixers faced another 3-win team in the Brooklyn Nets on Sunday, and they needed Tyrese Maxey to play in the fourth quarter to help close that game out. Tyrese Maxey helped the Sixers push their lead to 24 points by the close of the third quarter. Tyrese Maxey exploded for 17 of his game-high 35 points, 17 of those points coming in the final 4:46 of the third quarter, allowing him to take that break in the fourth. I'm going to celebrate the Sixers doing exactly what they should do, because what they could have done is play down to their opponent. And last night, Keith, they certainly did not do that against the Wizards.
Yeah, they certainly didn't do that. I mean, you said he scored like 17 of them. I mean, when I looked at it, I think he scored the final 14 of that too, of those points in the quarter. Yeah, he did what he had to do. Let's face it, like this, and I mean, I'm looking at it, and I'm gonna be real though, but this Washington Wizards team was trash last night. Like, if we're gonna keep it 100, it's like you're amazed and you're saying, "Dang, the Sixers needed overtime to beat them before," but they really put it on them. But also, you can say that okay, they were missing several players, but the Sixers were missing several players as well too. So when you factor those two things in, but you are right. Like Maxey played 29 minutes. It was the fewest minutes that he's played all season, and he did what he was supposed to do. He just elevated his team in that third. He ended up scoring actually 20 points overall in the third quarter as well. I think he was 3 for 4 on threes too. So it was phenomenal. It was a sense of urgency, and they did it what they're supposed to, because you need to sit down and relax in the fourth against a team like this, and that's what he got the opportunity to do.
Yeah, and the reason I focused on the final 4:46 is because literally around the 5-minute mark, I'm thinking Sixers need to blow this wide open. Maxey had, I think at the time he had like 20 or 18 points or whatever it was. And I'm like, he needs to get his points to keep that average up there, And this is a team to do it against where you can obviously still win and not go out of your way to get Maxey his. But at that moment, I think at that moment he hit a 3 and then just exploded from that point on. And it was like, okay, not only is he going to get his, but the Sixers are going to put a bow on this game and he won't have to play in that fourth quarter. And I know it might not seem like a lot to some other people, but when you're leading the league in minutes constantly throughout the entire season, it's good to be able to put your feet up every once in a while, especially when you should have been able to do it against the Nets this past weekend and didn't do it. This game, other guys stepped up and helped him do it, but to focus on Maxey, this was just a guy that looked around, it felt like last night, and went, yeah, I could just blow this game open, and that's exactly when he took over.
Yeah, you're exactly right. He felt like it, and he took over. But again, that's what he's supposed to do, to be honest with you. If we're saying that Tyrese Maxey is an elite player in this league, and you see a wounded duck coming in here, you don't play with it. You know what I mean? You just like, it's over with, bro. And that's what he did. I mean, you have to.
I think I'll have duck tonight.
I mean, I'll have duck tonight. I'll have wizard tonight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do what you have to do. And I think that's what happened. I mean, they had to. And if you're that guy, like, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest. And I don't want to, like, it was the Washington Wizards.
Right.
It was. Now, it wasn't like he did that against the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? You know what I mean? If that was, everybody would be like, oh, my gosh, da-da-da, da-da-da. It probably would lead Sports Center, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like if we're saying that Tyrese Maxey is one of the top 5 players in the league, a lethal scorer, an MVP candidate, these are the type of things he's supposed to do against a team like the Wizards. And he did it. He was under control. He's established himself as the leader. They followed, everybody raved over him after the game. So these are the performances that Tyrese Maxey has to have. And let's place it, we talked about this earlier before we came on. It was his 20th consecutive 20-point game, which is a franchise record. He has 649 points through 20 games, which ranks 3rd in franchise history behind Allen Iverson and Wilt Chamberlain. You know what I mean? So when we look at it, Joel Embiid hasn't even done this, the things that he's doing. So it just puts it all in perspective, the type of season Maxey's having.
Okay. All right, good. So perspective, real quick on that perspective to help for people that think we're leaving the planet with a win over the Wizards. That's not what we're doing at all. But for the people that might need to hear this. So you mentioned the 20 points that he's had in the first 20 games this season. That's the 3rd most games, 20 games to have at least 20 points to start a season, 3rd most in franchise history behind Joel Embiid, who had 33 in 2023-2024. Allen Iverson, who had 21 of those 20-point games to start a season in 05-06. Tyrese Maxey has 20. So for perspective, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against the Golden State Warriors last night had his 94th straight 20-point game. 94th straight 20-point game. The only person that has more is Wilt Chamberlain, who has 126 straight 20-point games. So, yeah, that's perspective for you. That's perspective. But all in all, it beats the hell out of a headline. Tyrese Maxey goes 2 for 13, like he did against the Hawks, for instance, goes 2 for 13 against the Wizards from 3. Yeah. This beats the hell out of that. So I'll certainly take it, especially when we talk about not necessarily get-right games, but confidence-boosting games for some other guys. We'll talk about those other guys like Jared McCain, for instance, and Paul George as well when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers and the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe after this. And right now, I'm going to tell you about the Game Time app, specifically for World Cup draw. World Cup coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. Where were you in 1994? Maybe you're at the World Cup. Well, 48 teams will be here. First time ever. It's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch. Finally, giving fans the real advantage when it comes to snagging seats for the World Cups, for World Cup games, as well as just about every other game. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time. You can get alerts when great seats open and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands, the fans' hands, and it makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of an impossible task. You pull up the app. Layout is so simple to navigate on the Game Time app, and you get your tickets just that simple. Seat view also is a real game changer. You can literally see where your vantage point is on the pitch for the World Cup on the Game Time app. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets. Get every match, concert, or event even, with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the Game Time app, make an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Swipe, tap, ticket, go with the Game Time app. And there we go. Little delay on the mouse there, Keith. My apologies. Jared, where were you in 1994, by the way? First time since the World Cup's been back since 1994. What was Keith Pompey doing in 1994?
I was living in Pittsburgh, PA in 1994. A student living it up. Yep, eating at Permani Brothers. Going to the Dirty O. It's called the original hot dog stand, but we called it the Dirty O. But you could get like a $3 large pizza. It was the best pizza in the world at 3 a.m. You loved it. You just loved it.
But that's living, man. That's livid. I won't even say where I was, but all right, I'll say Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Doylestown. That's where I was going to grade school, and I was enjoying the World Cup. Believe it or not, that's what I was doing. This Sixers team. I know. I didn't want to say when I mentioned it. I was like, well, he said his, so I gotta say mine. I don't want to leave him out. But anyway, I certainly wasn't enjoying. Well, anyway, when it came to the Sixers last night, Jared McCain, and yes, again, this is all under the umbrella of the Wizards, but I don't look at a game like this. I think the eternally optimistic way to look at a game like this, similar to the Nets, is a get-right game. I never looked at the Nets like a get-right game. We talked about it beforehand. I don't look at a game like the Wizards. Oh, this is a get-right game. Now the Sixers are going to win 10 in a row. Not going to happen. I look at a game like this as guys that needed to get a glorified rehab run or try to get on the same page with guys they haven't played with. That's what this game does. Build confidence for guys like Jared McCain, Adem Bona, Andre Drummond trusting his knee, Dominic Barlow getting the steal at midcourt and taking it down for the slam in the third quarter as part of the big Sixers run. Little things like that. Paul George, the easiest example of this, trusting his knees, trusting, basically that he could be out there with Tyrese Maxey, getting on the same page with these guys. That's how I look at a game like this. And really, even on the defensive end, especially for Paul George, maybe not on the offensive end of things, but defensive end for Paul George, things really look like they were coming together for him. And other guys on this team you want to see come along gradually as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, it's like to me, I looked at it more so as the Sixers about to get into a tough stretch, and we talked about it beforehand. There was 2 games that they needed to win, and it was Brooklyn and it was the Washington Wizards, and I felt like outside of that, they were going to, probably struggle in some of these games, right? Like, I just felt that way. And I felt like in order for them to keep their sanity, they had to beat Brooklyn and then they had to beat the Wizards. And they've done that because I think the stretch is about to get a little bit tougher, right? I really do. I mean, you got Golden State coming to town and, we're talking about, you got Steph Curry, you have Jimmy Butler, Draymond. And then after that, you got a back-to-back in Milwaukee. And I know that Milwaukee has been struggling. But the last time Milwaukee saw the Sixers, Tyrese Maxey hung 54 on them. So, looking at this one, you are right. This is a good one for like Jared McCain to feel good about himself. Jabari Walker feel good about himself and all this. But it just gives you a little bit of confidence going in there. But I really can't look at it too much more than that, right? And then some guys are healthy. Like some guys rested, whatever, because my only thing is about to it could go left in a couple games. Like in the next 4 or 5 games, this thing could go left for the 76ers. So to me, if they didn't win these games, it definitely would go left. That's how I'm looking at it right now.
Yes. The Warriors are 11-11 on the season. It came out real early this morning, that Steph Curry is not going to be making the trip, the road trip that the Warriors are on right now. He's not going to be making that trip, so they won't have to face him tomorrow night. But overall, you're still talking about, a 500 team that certainly still knows how to win. They'll see Seth Curry in that run because he's now playing for his brother's squad out there in Golden State, out in San Francisco. But this still is going to be a test for the Sixers team, no matter which way you look at it. Yeah. You talk about a team that has experience in winning. You talk about still seeing whether or not Joel Embiid can go out there and play at a decent level over a long period of time. And you have to think that this is the stretch the Sixers might be saving him for. Now, they got Golden State tomorrow night, the back-to-back Friday night as they go back to Milwaukee, another back-to-back there. They go to Milwaukee on Friday. So Thursday and Friday is the back-to-back against the Warriors in South Philly. Then they go to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. Sunday, they got the Lakers in South Philly. So it's a one-and-done road trip out in Milwaukee. Then December 12th, that's a Friday. After having that long stretch off, they're going to be back at it against the Indiana Pacers. Then the Hawks again in Atlanta. Then at New York against the Knicks. And then they got on December 20th, the Dallas Mavericks come to town for their second back-to-back and final back-to-back of the month of December. It is going to be a very rough stretch here for the 76ers. Golden State's the first test. Do they have Joel Embiid tomorrow night against Golden State, or do you think they save him for the second leg of that back-to-back?
Here's one of those things. I hate to be this way, Mark, but I don't think Joel Embiid even knows. Like, I don't when we keep saying, like, do they have him? I mean, that's the number one question. But at this particular time, like, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, here's the thing. It gets to a point where the guy is listed as out, and then all of a sudden he's listed as questionable. And then all of a sudden, then he doesn't play in the next game. You know what I mean? And it's just, I mean, to me, it is one of those things, because it comes to a point where it's like, if you're listed as out and then you're listed as questionable, well, either you knew there's two things happening. You knew he was going to play, or you assumed he was going to play, but you weren't 100% sure because maybe he might have woke up the next morning and say, I'm not really feeling well. Or B, he might wake up the next morning and you're saying there's going to be some knee swelling. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to do it, right? So to me, neither one of those things are like definitive things to say, okay, he's going to play, right? It just, so I really don't know, man. I hate to say I don't. And it's a sad situation when you talk about how many more years he has left on his deal, but we're talking they're going to go in their 21st game of the season, next one. This guy has already missed a third of their season. I mean, he's only played in a third of what they played in thus far. So, I don't know, man. Like, it's one of those things, whenever he comes back, is like, I look at it as, okay, well, this is just something that you can add to the mix. Like, right now, you really can't account on his availability. You just can't. Mm-hmm. Like, whenever he comes out and plays, okay, let's see how it works out, right? But right now, with him missing 2/3 of the season, you can't count on that right now. You just can't.
It's the unfortunate reality what you're talking about. The thing I'm now in the, with this clearly being Tyrese Maxey's team at this point, I can't imagine what it's like for players in that locker room getting ready for games that are in the same state of mind that we're in, that fans are in. Which version of the Sixers are we going to see? This version that's to try to get 25, 30 minutes from Joel Embiid, or are we going to see the version of the Sixers where it's Tyrese Maxey completely running the show? I can't imagine what it's like to be Tyrese Maxey. And I'm not saying this as a negative from Maxey to Embiid where he's, fed up with Embiid or anything. I'm not trying to stir the pot as far as that goes. But I'm just talking about the reality of the situation of not knowing what version of basketball you're supposed to be. That's why you get to that declarative statement about the type of basketball you can expect from the Sixers. I think that's what Maxey's getting to when he's talking about that. Whether you have guys healthy or not, this is how we're going to play. It's still going to be difficult to do that when you have Joel Embiid and you don't have Joel Embiid. It's two different styles of basketball that we've seen from the Sixers team. It's got to be frustrating to a certain degree, not to the point where it's going to blow up in their faces, but it's got to be frustrating if you're Tyrese Maxey to not even know what type of basketball you're going to have to play that night against any given opponent.
But you know what? I think, to be quite honest with you, at this particular point, like Joel's played in 19 games last year, 39 games a year before that, right? And sometimes, like, we look at it, when Joel is out there playing, you got to try to incorporate him in the offense. Like, Maxey came out and said it, like, he wasn't taking a shot at Joel, but, like, they're playing a certain way. But Joel can still score, and he's still a good player. So you have to switch up how you play. And when Joel's out there, it kind of takes away from VJ Edgecombe a little bit, right? So, at this particular point is kind of like, it might be, you could say it's tough for him, but at the same time, I think that once the 76ers realized that there was a great chance he wasn't going to be ready for the beginning of the season, the same with Paul George, it's like they came out with a different identity. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, and you can argue, like those first 4 games, they played really well, right? And then since then, things have like taken a step back after the injuries and other things. But I look at it like, I don't know. It's hard to depend on a guy who played 39 games 2 seasons ago, 19 games last season, and he's only been on the floor a third of your season this so far. And then he's only playing at most 30 minutes. That's the most minutes he logged. So yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, dude. It's different. It's different from Steph Curry saying he's not making this trip.
Right.
Right now at this particular time. Yeah.
I agree. All right. There's one more guy I want to ask about, but I'll wait till we come back. And that's Quentin Grimes. We'll talk about him when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back after this. Now it's time to tell you about Robinhood Gold. And if you guys are taking advantage of all Robinhood Gold is offering, Robinhood Gold right now, what if sports were traded like markets? Now you could put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You could buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. When the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game. You knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can and you can take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Quentin Grimes held out of last night's game. What's going on there, Keith Pompey?
Another injury. He has calf soreness. They're saying, but this is it's 2 ways you look at it. Like, so the team didn't practice. The team they didn't practice on Monday. They played on Sunday, but they didn't practice on Monday. He was not on the injury report Monday. And then all of a sudden, I remember I got up yesterday morning, Tuesday, and I looked on the injury report, and he's listed as probable. Go to shoot around. I didn't see him in there with the team. Now again, he could have walked out, but typically he's out there afterwards getting shots. You didn't see him. So then, next thing you know, by midday, he's listed as questionable. Nick Nurse says they're all going to go out there and warm up and work out, and they'll decide then. But typically, we always see Quentin in the locker room, like getting ready to do stuff. You didn't see him. And then before the game, he's scratched, right? So to me, it's 2 things. It's like, did y'all know he wasn't going to play, but you just went through the stages, the steps, and you had to put him on probable, because if you didn't do that, then everybody was like, hey, how come this guy is available and now he's not playing? But the bigger issue to me is this is the second guy with a calf issue. And calf issues lead to Achilles tears, like we talked about, right? So I'm a little concerned on the usage of these players right about now, because, it's like you got Kelly Oubre out with an injury. You have Trendon Watford out with an injury. VJ Edgecombe was out for several games with this calf issue, right? Mm-hmm. And now you got Quentin Grimes. So are they logging too many minutes? What's going on? It just seems like, and I know that these injuries are going up around the league, but when you have one guy coming back from a calf issue, then you got another guy going on one, it's a little concerning to me, really, about the usage rate of these players.
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, and it does seem like Nick Nurse is driving a lot of these guys into the ground. And that's why I was doing cartwheels over Tyrese Maxey not having to play in the fourth quarter against the Wizards last night. And that's why I was hoping he wouldn't have to play in the fourth quarter against the Nets on Sunday, but yet there he was. When you're talking about Tyrese Maxey leading the league in minutes by a huge majority, talking about Kelly Oubre being up there, VJ Edgecombe being up there. I know that Jared McCain was late to get started this season, but come on, like what? You can't ride these guys into the ground now. Is the goal to give them a break later in the season? But you're going to need them even more then if you're really going to try to make a playoff push. And as Nick Nurse has talked about this year, really try to wipe away what happened last year, make up for what happened last year, dig out of the hole they dug for themselves last year. Like, that's going to be impossible if these guys are running to the ground already, logging as many minutes as they have logged. And now you're talking about Quentin Grimes being injured after minutes he's logged. You're talking about Kelly Oubre still being injured after minutes he's logged. VJ Edgecombe on the injury report, missing games with the calf injury, as you mentioned, because of how many minutes he's played. Like, I don't want to put this out there, but it's like, okay, who's next? Because of how many minutes these guys are playing per night. Is there any solution to that? Hey, look, I'm not begging to see more Eric Gordon. I'm not begging to see more Kyle Lowry, but do you almost have to do that to make sure these guys get a little bit of a break?
I mean, you may have to, but I also think it comes down to how's the roster constructed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got, like they went out there and they went out there and said, we're going to get younger, we're going to get more athletic, but at the same time, we want to get this veteran leadership. Eric Gordon played last night. He played well, shooting the ball. He did what he had to do, right? But yeah, it's like they're in a pickle. I mean, now you may have to, and then also, so you got two-way guys, but they're really actual NBA players. You know what I mean? They're really actually like actual NBA players, right? So it's kind of like, it's not like you're saying, okay, we already got two power forwards on the roster, but we got two-way guards that we can bring up. They're a little screwed right about now. I mean, they actually are. They are, because you already got Kelly Oubre hurt. So to me, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where you look at it and you say, okay, yeah, Eric Gordon, he's going to probably have to play more minutes. Okay, Jared McCain, his usage rate is going to have to go up now. Like, we looked at it last night. Jared was running a lot of point guard. Maxey was on the bench. He was on a lot of point. So, and then Hunter Silas, he may have to be a guy who may have to get baptism by fire, like, Hunter, you're going to have to play more. You're going to have to bring you in, and you're going to have to live with these results. But, it's weird when you think about it. Like, you got the starting two guard who just came back from an injury. You have the three and Kelly Oubre who's out, right? Your sixth man of the year missed the last game with injuries. Like, the biggest thing that we talked about heading into this season was the strength was their guard play, the perimeter play. And now you look at it, Tyrese Maxey is the only one who has not missed a game thus far before injuries. And that's crazy. Like, he is the only one of that rotate. And I'm gonna add Kelly Oubre to the mix of the five, because he is a two, but he plays the three. For them, Tyrese Maxey is the only one who hasn't missed a game, and he's been banged up too, but he hasn't missed a game. So, yeah, this is tough, man. I think you're gonna have to play more of Eric Gordon, maybe Hunter Silas, but for the most part, you're gonna have to deal with it.
All right, well, say no more. Go sign Chris Paul. That's all you got to do. Just sign. That way Kyle Lowry can feel like a kid again. If you go out and you bring Chris Paul in, Kyle Lowry can feel like a young bull. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's this edition of Locked On 76ers. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Marc Farzetta. We appreciate you guys joining. And also, we appreciate you guys. We just got over 7,000 subscribers on YouTube, so thank you so much for that. I think since the draft, that's about 2,000 subs. So we appreciate you guys helping grow the show in the way that you guys are helping to grow the show, just as you've helped grow the Locked On Podcast Network into the #1 sports podcast network out there. So thank you so much for that. Hey, now that you've watched Locked On 76ers, make sure you guys go watch Locked On Fantasy Basketball, where host Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, and also making you the smarter NBA fan as well. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Keith Pompey, I'm Marc Barzetta. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Also, Eagles fans, Locked On Eagles Squad show coming up at 2 p.m. this afternoon, so don't miss that either. That's me, Jason Martinez, and Harry Mays. We'll see you guys then. And right here on Locked On 76ers, Keith Pompey and I will see you guys tomorrow ahead of the Sixers playing host to the Golden State Warriors. See you guys then.